Hello everyone, welcome to this demo on type. This is a continuation of the previous one, but now we're gonna take more advantage of the capability of rasterizing your type to create some effect or distort your image. I'm gonna start with this lab, which is a basic image of a wall, but interestingly it has like a division of color, like the upper part is like yellow and white and the bottom part has like a dark tone to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type this word that says design, but I'm going to grab from the bottom part of the image. Basically, I'm going to make an image out of the D and the E and bring it up. And then I'm going to write the word sign on the top. And I'm going to copy it from there and then bring it down to the bottom part to make the word visible. So basically, I'm literally grabbing parts of this image to make my type. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through it. And there's tons of possibilities of what you can do once you learn how to do this. But I thought that this would be a good example. So I'm going to start. I'm going to delete these two layers right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first write the word D that I wrote it here. And I'm going to write the word sign as type on the top. To do that, I basically selected my T for the type tool. It's right here on the menu. Okay, and that little icon right here is what's going to give you a type tool. But what you're going to notice is that right away is a horizontal type tool. It's not vertical. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that. What you need to do is click and hold it down so you can get the vertical type tool. Okay, and now when you type, you'll notice that it's going to start going down. Okay, so that's what you need to do for this lab. You have to need to make sure that you do the vertical one. Now, these are two different type sections right here. So basically I have, if you see up my layers, I have sign. Okay, it's one and it's separate from the D and the E. And the reason is because I want to make sure I can select only that part and only this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the D so you don't get distracted. I'm just going to focus on this one first. The one thing that is really cool about type, similar of other layers that we have covered before with mask, if you press command and you click on the letter T on the thumbnail, the T, basically it's going to make a selection of that type. Okay, so now you have this selection active. So after you have the selection active, you're going to make a blank layer, okay, that is going to basically hold your image. Or actually, let's do something different. I'm going to show you an easier way, so that way you don't have to have a blank layer. So I'm going to delete, I copy that. Let me go back, delete that. Okay, so I'm going to select the background layer. And instead of making a new one, and that's what I was going to show you, I think it's better if we just duplicate it from the background, so that way you can end up with the image of whatever is selected. So bear with me right now. So right now, just to put it on perspective, you have the background layer selected, right? And we have this active selection right now. So if I press Command J, as this selection is on this layer, it will basically only copy what I have selected. So I'm going to do Command J. Right, you don't see it right away because the word is covering it. So don't panic if you go like, oh, where is it? Just make sure that you turn off the visibility of the word sign. And you're still not going to see it because it's basically in the same spot. But now if I make sure that I'm in the layer that I copied and I move it down, then I end up with this right here. Okay, so that's how I did that one. And you can do the same for the D. Okay, so I'm going to select the letter D right here. Okay, and you can put it anywhere you want. I'm going to put it here so I can get some of that tagging from the wall. I don't know, just to see if it looks cool. And I'm going to press command and then click. Right now I selected it right where it was, and that's the reason why I'm doing it with typing, so I have the flexibility of moving it around. I'm going to show you in a little bit that there's a different way of doing it. But after you have it selected, then you have to go again to the background one. You select the background, okay, because that's the one that actually has an image in it. And with this selected, you're going to press Command J, and it's going to basically extract that section that you had selected from the original image and make a new blank layer. Okay, so it's pretty easy. So now that you do that, you can turn off the visibility of the type, and now I can move that all the way up here, and I end up with the D and the E, okay? And then sign ends up in the bottom. You can now scale them. Now remember that these are not type. If you notice the little thumbnail, it's an image. So if you stretch it too much, it will start getting pixelated. So it's fine if you shrink it. It will be fine. But if you start stretching it, then it starts pixelating. So you don't want to go bigger. You can go smaller though. Okay, so this is a cool, thing that you can do. Like if you want to grab things from within the image, and you can make cool design stuff with that. I thought it would be something fun that you can learn how to do. Now I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to show you a different way that you can apply type. You can basically, with the type tool, if we go, let me go here on this menu. Right here on this one, if I hold it down, there is a vertical type mask tool. So if I actually type, and I approve it, it will convert it into a selection, which is cool and it's useful, but it has some limitations because, like, if you want to move it, you can't. You see, it does something weird. But I want to show you just that you have that option if you ever want to do something quick. You basically have to get this little symbol right here that says horizontal type mask tool. Okay, and you have a horizontal one and a vertical one. And that basically, it looks like it's a type, but as soon as you finish typing and you approve it, it converts that typing into a selection. Okay, so I just wanted to point that exists, just in case one day you see it, it's like, oh, what is this? Now you know what it is. Okay, so that's this lab. It's pretty easy. And then I'm going to show you a different way of doing it. Here I have another image, and this one I did it a little bit different just to change things up, and you can find like other possibilities maybe by mixing it this way. So what I have here is, let me turn this green thing off. I have the word secret at the bottom right here, okay? And it's basically grabbed from this area and then brought down. And the way that I did that, I did it with a mask on this lab right here, instead of doing it in the way that I did it before, just in case, and I'm going to show you why, you have more flexibility, okay? So I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to basically delete this, okay? But I'm going to duplicate the background. So that will be the first step that you have to do. First, duplicate the background, okay? And it's fine if you leave it there. And then you have to select the word, right, or type the word, because you're not going to have it. You're going to type the word secret, okay? And you're going to put it on top somewhere big like that. And it doesn't matter really where, whoop, I moved the wrong thing. I'll make sure I'm on the right layer. It doesn't matter really where you put it, because you're going to have some flexibility with this. And that's why I wanted to show you how to do it with the mask. The way that I'm going to do it is I type the word, doesn't matter where it is. I'm going to press Command and click on it. And now it's a selection, right? If I click on the background copy and add a mask, so I'm going to click here and add a mask, right? Now I can hide this. Basically, it's going to hide everything else. You don't see it right now, but if I just move this down, right, you will see it. Now, differently than the other one, this one, you still have the entire image. And the cool thing about this is, if you go here and unlink the mask from the image, now I can click on the mask, on the thumbnail of the image, and I can actually move it within the mask. So you can like reposition, maybe you don't want it that visible, right? Because that's kind of shocking with the brightness of the middle of the paper with the light bulb there. Maybe you want it a little more subtle, so it's kind of hidden. So it works better with this word of secret if you do it like that, right? So now we have a more interesting image by having this here, and then I have to relink it, and now I can move it lower if I want. Okay, so it's a pretty cool technique, to kind of like play with, font. And basically you're using an image and then masking out the type tool. So basically it blocks everything else. Or you could do it, the opposite too. If you have Command I, invert the mask, you can do basically where you show the image, right? But then the hole is where the word secret is. So you can kind of play with that too. But I just want to show you that this possibility of mixing the mask that you know how to use already with type and images, which gives you a lot of possibilities. You can do it like a word that have clouds inside or whatever you want to do. It can become really interesting by using images as your type. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do. This one is very similar. The only difference that I did here is I did like a gradient inside the type tool. Okay, so that way you end up with like a gradient. That's why it goes from orange yellow, and then orange again. So I'm going to show you how I did that. I'm going to delete whatever's in that layer. I have the word dreams right here, right? So I just type in this image dreams. I made a blank new layer. The same as thing that we did before, command and click on the T, so I have this selection, and if I'm in this layer that's empty, and I go to my gradient here, I can go to this top menu. Let's see, what do I want? Let's do contrast, like a blue, just to make it different. And if you drag it across, basically it's going to put that gradient inside the selection that you have. So you can kind of go through here and find, purple, pinks, let's see, reds. Ooh, let's see what we got here. Let's try that one. Again, you can do it in any angle right now. The only thing that you have to be aware of that depending on which of these you have, this one is like a gradient from left to right, or it can be from up and down depending on how you drag it. This one is basically from the middle, like a dot. So let me show you how that looks. You see, it's like a dot. The longer you stretch, we covered this already, but in case you forgot, the longer you stretch, the bigger the gradient, right? Now you can see that it's like bigger the gradient than if I drag it very small here, you can see the dot. Okay, so that's what this one is. It's like a dot. This one is like a circle kind of pattern with a line. Okay, so you can kind of go through these and see. This is the basic one, which is just from left to right. So let me do a little one so you can see it. So you see it goes from left to that color. So if I do it bigger, then it becomes more smooth, that transition. Okay, so that one is pretty cool. So you can kind of like, figure out something that you can do with the type, and it will be sharp. Like if you have already the type where you want it, even though that is an image and it's not a vector based layer, it will still be sharp because you had that line that was really sharp. So it's going to actually make it look good. Now if I scale it and make it bigger, now it's not going to be that good. But if you have it already at the size that you want it, or if you stretch it smaller, it will be fine too. But you have to be aware of where is that initial scale, what size you want it. And then you can play with it. Okay, so that is that one. So we have already 3. So we have this one that was basically doing, extracting it from the image and moving it around. This one was similar, but with a mask. Okay. And now we have this one where you're going to do a type, and then you're going to do a blank layer and then do the gradients. So that's a different technique. This one, I just wanted to introduce it just in case people ask me this a lot, like how do you write copyright symbols and stuff like that into images without, obscuring the image or writing like ugly on top of it. So let me show you how you do that. It's really easy. I'm just going to do one real quick. Okay, so let's say you have this image. I thought it was relevant because we're trying to save our image, save our money. So refrigerator, get it? No. Bad joke. Okay, but what we're going to do is I'm going to select the type tool. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click option. I think it was G. It's too small. I can't even see. Let's make it bigger. 72. That's the biggest it gets. Yep, that's the right shortcut. Okay. So I have the wrong type tool because I left it from the previous lab. Okay, so let's get the normal type tool. We have to do it again. Okay, option G, so I can get the copyright symbol. I don't want the condensed, I just want the regular one. I have to select it. Regular, it's too bold. Okay, that looks better. Now I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to do option and make it like that. Let's assume that you want it big because you don't want nobody stealing your picture. Okay, so now that I have that, the cool thing that I'm going to do it backwards so that way you can, your mind gets blown away with this skill. You basically have this, right? And if you go here to the FX, it's kind of small, but it's at the bottom of the layer panels. And if you click there, you're going to go to bevel and emboss. Okay. So once you're here, what you're going to do is you're going to add, sizing. So you can kind of like see, I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit so you can see it more. You can see like how it makes it look like it has a bevel and emboss in it. I think that's fine for now. And I'm going to click OK, right? And you're thinking like, that's not really hidden. Well, the cool thing about this is because I have an effect, so this is a type tool, and you see that the effects get attached to it. We talked about opacity and we have lowered that, but a cool thing that you have right underneath is fill. And this is really useful because the fill, you can turn down I'm going to say the opacity, even though it's not, but the opacity of that type, but it leaves the effects at 100%. Okay, so if I lower the fill, you're going to notice that the color yellow disappears, but the bevel stays behind. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for this one. You're basically going to create a type on top of your image, and you're going to lower the fill. Okay, so that way you can leave the bevel and emboss. You can basically leave the line. There's a lot of cool effects here, like stroke. There's other things, but the standard one that people do for copyright stuff is this one of bevel and emboss. And then once you have it, if you notice that, if you double click here, it will open it. If you notice that it's not that visible, or you want it less visible, you can open this and play with this. You can, figure out the depth that you want, right? Like if I do a lot, it would be a lot more visible. So I'm going to do less depth, so it's like kind of hidden. You can change the size, you can make it softer so it's not like as harsh. So this is what people do for their images when they're trying to save it from people from stealing it. Every time you try to Google something and then the image shows a lot of like weird words on top of it, this is how they do it. Okay, it's pretty easy. There are some like automated softwares that would do it, but I think this is better. It's like kind of custom, and you can make whatever type you want, your name or your business name, and then have it on top of the image. Okay, so that's that one right there. That one's pretty easy. So as you can see, there's a lot of labs. They're quick and easy, but it's just different things that you can do with the type. This one I just wrote the name. This is the same. But the last one that I'm going to show you is just to practice a little bit how to use the pen tool to do shapes, because I know we have covered it, but we haven't really just played with it. And I want you to play with this one. I don't care what you do, but I want you to do different shapes and things by drawing. So I'm going to delete all this stuff so you can see how I kind of did it quickly. So what I'm going to do is, there are a couple different ways that you can do it. There are some shapes, and I'm going to show you that because we haven't covered it. But if you go here, at the bottom it says rectangular tool, round. So these ones right here, let's do the round one just so you can see it. It's a vector-based shape. So what that means is that you can control what color it's going to have as a fill. So if you see up here on the toolbar, you have a fill, you have a stroke, and how wide that stroke is going to be. I'm going to put one just so you can see. Let's put the blue, and I have that. Let's make it a little bit thicker so that was like very noticeable. Okay. So now if I go here and I make my image right here, you'll see that it will create your shape. And the shape has a stroke, and it has like the color inside, and you can scale it however you want, because this is basically a shape. It has this little icon in the thumbnail that it tells you that it's a vector-based image. So you can scale it however you want, and it won't lose quality. Okay, so that's basically that one, and there's also a circle, and you can play with it. But the one that I want to show you, well, actually, there's one more I can show you here. There's also custom shape tool in case there's something here that you might want to play with. This right here, you have, trees, and you can also load more, import shapes, and these are basically shapes that are vector based. And right now I have the blue stroke, so it's kind of making it look ugly, but let's actually take that off. Let me take the stroke away, so that way it doesn't look that bad. So to take the stroke away, if you click on the stroke and then you have this diagonal line, it will not have a stroke. Now I have a fill. You can also turn the fill off if you want, but if not, you won't see it. So I'm going to do this. All right, and as soon as I click, let's say on another one, now you can see your tree. This is actually vector based, so it's not bitmap. You actually have this. Let me delete this layer. You have this little icon right here that's letting you know that this is basically vector based. So it's pretty cool. You can scale it in however way you want, and if you look through that menu, oh, it keeps hiding on me. If you look to that custom, you have a lot of different options, and you can load different ones. Import shapes, and then if you download some, you can like import it. Right now I don't have anything here. And there was, let's see, there's one more. Let's see, text, line, restore default shapes. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, sorry. I wanted to get some other ones because I know I have some in another place. I just forgot where I saved them. But you can get some cool stuff by doing this. And you can also make your own. So that's what I wanted to show you because I think it's better if you make your own stuff, obviously if you have the time. So I'm going to show you again how to use the pen tool, but with shapes. So when you select your pen tool, before we have been doing path to make selections, now you can change it up here to shape. And how this works is the same as the other stuff that we were doing, right? You can just do your, shape, and basically it will be vector based, and you have a color. You can change the color, and even afterwards I can add a stroke. Okay, and it's basically editable. Like you can keep editing it and change the color, whatever you want, or you can change the lines if you want, right? To make it however you want. Okay, so that's basically how you're gonna do it. So for this lab, I want you to create several shapes with different colors and path and stroke and color, so that way I can see that you know how to do it, because for your final design for the poster or the postcard that we are going to do later on, you're going to need these skills to do it. So it's better that you start practicing now, because you're going to want to do some line work and you want to do some like design inside of your poster. So make sure that you learn how to do this, because you're going to need it later on. And remember that all of this, you can change it. So for example, if I select my my shape, you can always change, how much stroke it has. Right now it's selecting this dot, which is really annoying. This is the one I want to select. And you can change the stroke and all that on your image. So that's something really cool. And if you have any questions about this one or any of the previous lab, I know it's a lot and it's kind of like scattered in different, little labs. But I just want you to try stuff. So don't be afraid, like even if I didn't cover something and you find something like, oh, let's see what this does. Because in this part of the lab, it's more about what fits the design, right? And what fits your images. And when you're designing a postcard or a scene or a little handout or pamphlet, like it's really about the cohesive design. There's no right or wrong. It's about what goes with the design and what goes with the images. So it's good that you know how to do different things, because you have all those tools, and then when you're presented with a problem, it's like, oh, I can do it this way, or I can do that. So you want to have all those skills on your pocket for when you need it. You might not use all of these for your final project, but definitely it's good to know it just in case you might need it. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm hoping that you will have some fun with these ones, and just go outside the box and just play with it. And I'm looking forward to see what you guys will make. Okay, so see you next time.